Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 26th day of October, 2023. Well, let me make sure my speaker's up here. There it is there. Tomorrow is my youngest son's birthday. He'll be 41, so I'll be sending him a happy birthday message tomorrow. It's kind of interesting to have kids in their 40s. It's they're not kids anymore, obviously, and it's kind of exciting to see how their lives progress and all of that, especially when they get older. We're proud of our boys and all the success they've had, and they're just really great people, and we feel very blessed to be their parents. So happy birthday to him tomorrow. Let's see. Let's go ahead and talk about today's oracle card from the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck. Here we have Inanna, the Sumerian goddess known as the Queen of Heaven and Earth. She teaches us wholeness and to face the shadow side of self with compassion, and then understand it through the eyes of spirit, to, in a sense, experience a rebirth of integration and wholeness. The idea is not to fear the shadow side of self, but to embrace it, to understand its message. You can't really have one without the other. We're learning balance here while we're in physical reality, and understanding and to see it through the eyes of spirit and higher awareness, instead of getting caught up in the whole drama of it all. To try to just step outside of it and understand it, embrace it, love it. It's part of you, and it's there to teach you something. So anyhow, today our card again is Inanna, the Sumerian Queen of Heaven, and the message is wholeness. Okay, let's see. Let's put her right here. I'm keeping track of the ones I've done and the ones I have left to do here. I hope you all have had a good week, and we're making applesauce. My husband's doing the applesauce, and I'm doing the pasta sauce and the salsa. So, but I think after last night, I think we had a killing frost last night. So we were frantically bringing everything, in from the garden that we had left to do, and we did that day before yesterday. We were doing that, and then my husband's going to go out and probably start harvesting the potatoes. So I don't know, but the carrots not yet. Maybe now. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how much the frost touched it last night, and if it didn't do too badly, then I think we'll let them sit a little while longer and grow. But in the next few days, we'll probably do that. And then I think that's all we have left on the actual harvesting. So we'll have to freeze the carrots and all of that. So that'll be our last big thing we do. Let's see. We have Perth Row. Let me get this out of the way here so I can see what I'm doing. Let's see if we can see this, just in case I need that. I don't think so. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, it's about the partial lunar eclipse. I'm getting mixed messages. Some things are saying, oh, we'll see it in the U.S., but I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, it's during the daytime, and I don't know that the moon's going to be up at that time. But anyway, I don't think it will be. So we probably can't see it. So that's the only other thing I had to tell you about. The full moon on Saturday, and it's partial lunar eclipse. You can still feel the impact of it, but maybe we just won't see it. But here we have Perth Row today to start us out with on the As Above side with the Elder Futhark rune Perth Row. Perth Row is an interesting rune. It's about fate. It's the 14th rune of the Elder Futhark, so it's going to have a 5 numerology, at least in terms of the order of things. But it's a water element rune. It's about birth, the womb, chance. It's the well of word, childbirth, understanding fate, cause and effect, synchronicity, all of that. It can also be useful in divination. Here it's open to the future. Here it's open to the past. Here it's giving birth, and here's a cauldron. So, anyway, it's thought to be the cup from which the runes are tossed or dice are cast. But I just look at Perthro as when I pull it, it's like, okay, who's going to be controlling my fate today? Is it going to be me, or am I going to give that away to someone else? And so I think we'll start out with that particular idea here for the above side. Are we going to let higher awareness govern it? Or is ego going to react all over the place and that be what governs our fate and the outcome of something? You know, higher wisdom or lower vibrational ego. Let's see what we have here. Well, we have Kata Draconis. Kata Draconis, you've got the two Draconi. It's interesting because when we talk about wholeness from the Oracle card today, you're looking at both sides of the equation, essentially. You're looking at the positive and the higher self side, and you're looking at the shadow side of self. The same is true with geomancy runes, in that you're looking at one particular concept. So there's 8 concepts, and you're looking at both sides of each one. And so it gives us 16 runes. Now, on the Draconi, which are governed by the north and south nodes of the moon, you have Kata Draconis, which is the south node, or the past. And you have Caput Draconis, and that would be the tail of the dragon, and Caput Draconis, which is the head of the dragon. And if I can find it, oh, there it is, right in front of me. Well, duh. Anyway, this would be Caput. That would be the north node of the moon, and governed by that and the idea of the future. But then here with the tail of the dragon, or Kata Draconis, you're looking at the past, and it could even involve past life. But this is how the past influences the present and the future. So it can have an evil influence, although I don't like to see it that way. I just view it as I think when they're talking about that and they're talking about karma, I think that maybe, geomancers of the past might have looked at this as karma being an evil thing, and I don't agree with that. I just think that karma is stuff you still have to learn from and work through. It's the results of behavior. It's the results of just any kind of behavior, whether it's from past life or whether it's your current incarnation, and the lessons that it teaches us. You could look at it as both as the shadow side of self and spirit. You could look at it that way, between Kata and Caput, but realistically, I don't even think you have to do it that way. I just think it's about what can the past teach us, in terms of it, especially in terms of Perthro. Who's going to control our fate? Maybe we've been in circumstances where we felt like, well, we just don't have any control here. And that may be true. But then there's also times where we think that we have no control. And at minimum, we can at least control how we express ourselves or feel or see the circumstances that seem to have a hold on us, even if we can't change the circumstance itself. So when you're looking at this, I would just say, for today, then the significator runes, you would look at how you manage fate and how much of past lessons come in that help you do that. We'll start out with it that way, and then we'll just shuffle a little bit more here and take some cards and get some more details about that. We'll take 3 cards. If we need more, we'll take them. But I generally don't. Usually if I take another card, I'll have 4 cards to deal with, but once in a while, I'll have a 5th card. But normally it's just 3. But if there's a card I need to know more about, or I feel like there's a part in the story, because the cards tell a story, and it just feels like a piece is missing, then I'm going to take another card and stick it there and see if it makes a little more sense. Gives us maybe a little more information about what's going on in terms of our fate and how past experience can inform that. So I cut the deck. We'll take the lower half. Oh, well, we have 2 cards from the Major Arcana. Let me take some tea here. 2 cards from the Major Arcana and 1 from the Suit of Swords. So we'll start out with the 8 of Swords, and then we'll move on to the Empress and Temperance. Now, here we see a woman blindfolded and bound. She's surrounded by 8 swords piercing the wet, soppy sand. You see the castle over here on the on the cliffs here in the background. Let's see, what else can we see? Well, we can see a little bit of a mountain starting right there. That's way off in the distance. But basically, this, although this is a card of the air element with swords, you also have the impact of water. You also have the with all the water around here, the water element and the emotions and change and all of that. But with swords, we're talking about communication and interaction, and balance and fairness and justice and all of that. But she's also wearing a red robe or a red gown here. So that would indicate the fire element. So there's an exercise of will. And here I believe she's exercising her inner will to turn off the noise around her and also the noise within. And so that she can come to some kind of decision. Swords also involves decisions. To come to some kind of a decision in a way that exercises her will in a way that stops listening to everybody else, even her own perceptions, her own thoughts, that might be influencing her. Again, past Cauda Draconis stuff maybe that's creeping in, that's maybe chiding her in some way, ego's chiding her in some way to do one thing or another, and she's like, well, no, I don't think I want to do that, and I want to go within and I want to really think this through and have and access higher awareness to do that. With 8, you're talking about strength. So again, strength of the will to do that. It's not easy sometimes to stop listening to everybody around you, to stop even listening to your own perception. It's like, well, I didn't get myself very far the last time I did this. Now I'm going to think differently about it. And again, she's deciding, exercising her will with the red gown here. That's depicting that she's exercising her will not only to do this, to engage in this process, to access that inner strength to do that, but also to control her own fate and not be controlled so much by the ego, and the ego trying to draw her into something that she doesn't really want to do again. So again, that's where the effect of Cauda Draconis could come in. So right away we start out with an integration between the runes and the card. But again, there could be something that you need to think about today. 8 is also about material recognition and approval, so there could be an element of that, but maybe not. Maybe it's just we're just looking at the strength and the own self-leadership kind of energy here to really turn things off and just go within and make your own decision based on what that inner voice is telling you. That's higher awareness talking to you, saying, look, you didn't get anywhere the last time. Now let's do this a little bit differently. So that's very possible here. You could be experiencing something like that. And if you do, you're going to want to go within and make up your own mind about it in a way that maybe is different than any other way you've done before. Let me write down here what this numerology of the cards are. We already know 5 for Perthro, so there's 5. We've got an 8, that's 13, which is 4. So 4, oh, there goes my pen. Let me put that way back there so I don't try to use it again. Do you do that? I do that all the time. It's like, oh, I won't throw it away yet. You never know. So we've got 4, and 3 is 7. And then we've got, let's see, 14 here for temperance. That of course adds up to, so 7 and 5 is 12 with a 3 overall. Did I do that right? We got 5 and 3 is 8. 8 and 5 is 13. That reduces to 4. And then 4 and 3 is 7. And then 7 and 5 is 12, which reduces to 3. Okay, so 3 again is about integration and communication. It's an airy type of a number. Mercury. It's about the planet Mercury and all of that, where you're talking about intellect and reason and justice and balance and integration. You see this with the Three of Cups, where you've got three women dancing together in a circle, holding their cups up high in celebration of the harvest and all of that. And so there's a sense of integration there. And here is where she needs to integrate herself with higher awareness, basically, and use that inner strength to do that. So now we know we have a three numerology, at least for the whole reading. But for the cards, if you take... otherwise, you're looking at 8 and 3. Again, is 11, which we would take that out and leave that as a master number. So awakening and enlightenment, which is certainly she's trying to achieve here. But if you, and then we would look at the 5 as change or protection, maybe innovation, variety, freedom versus restriction. And again, she needs to free herself here from the restriction that the swords that are around her are providing, that they're trying to restrict her view, trying to restrict her perceptions, trying to restrict her choices. And so either way, it sort of all dovetails together. I like to look at the numerology of the cards in progression, and also I like to look at just the cards themselves, and then I like to look at the overall one, just to see if there's anything we can glean from all of that. And I really think that this is all about making your own choices without the interference of other people and even your own past perception. From there, we go to the Empress, who is the mother aspect of self. She's surrounded by lots of abundance. You see some wheat growing here. You see all the trees behind her. And over here, you see a river or a little creek or a stream, probably more like a stream, coming through to nourish the land around her. You see her crown of Merkabahs here. She holds a scepter in one hand. With almost like a globe representing the world or the earth. She gives birth to creation, basically, here. So she's kind of the earth mother. So it's about the womb, abundance. She's a receptive presence. She's about beauty and success, love and fertility. We see her shield here that's shaped like a heart with Venus in the center of it. And again, you see the green center here, which is about abundance and just the earth energies. But you start out with the Fool, who takes the leap. You have the Magician and the High Priestess, which creates the conscious and subconscious aspects of self. And then from there, those combine together to then give birth to the Empress is next, that then gives birth to creation, essentially. So once you've made the decision, what are you going to create? Because clearly this is something very powerful today, where you're trying to figure out who's going to control my fate here. Am I going to do this, or is circumstance going to do it, or are the opinions of others going to do it? Am I going to be influenced by all of that, or am I going to make that decision for myself? And with the Empress, it's basically suggesting that, with your receptive presence, and that's kind of a balance between will and receptivity here. Who's going to control that? Your decisions. Who's going to control the outcome of this? And somewhere along the line, it's going to have to be you, and not give that away to other people. And so that's really part of the creation, the end result of that decision. What will you create as you take back that power from other people, the influence of others, and even the influence of past perception that has a hold over you? I see it this way. Well, do you? Do you need to? Can you maybe see it another way? Try that on for size and see how that feels. And see if that resonates a little bit more for you. And then we come to Temperance, which is balancing will with emotion. You see the glyph for fire on the angel's gown right here. You see the red wings. You see the sun disk here on the headband. You see the rays of the Creator emanating from the angel's crown chakra, if you will, and all around the angel's head. You see 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the land. You see some yellow irises, water irises growing. I have some that grow around my pond and up in my irrigation ditch, and they're just gorgeous when they're blooming. And here you see a winding path going up between two mountain peaks with the sun rising between them. Temperance is about moderation. It's about balancing will with emotion. It's about being grounded while actually fully feeling everything. So maybe some of the decisions that you've made in the past haven't been particularly grounded. Maybe they've been based in emotion and they haven't been particularly rational. That's another aspect of the air element and swords is the idea of rationality or reason. And here, she's got essentially the similar type of stance where she has one foot on the sand, which would be the ground, as with the angel here, you see over here. And then she also has one foot in the water. And so again, she's trying to ground herself a little bit while still, paying attention a little bit to how she feels about things. Because at the end of the day, we balance reason with will, with emotion to be able to make the decisions that we do. And hopefully, it's some kind of rational way that even with the emotions makes sense, right? Even an emotional decision can make absolute sense and can be the most rational decision to make that's based on how you feel about something. That at the end of the day, I see what's going on, but this is how I feel, and I'm not feeling real comfortable. And you may tell me that it's okay, but I'm not feeling comfortable, and I'm going to listen to that inner voice saying, wait a minute, there could be something going on here that I'm not seeing. And so I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to feel the emotion that I feel, and I'm going to make the decision I need to make. So that can be a very rational thing to do. But the idea with temperance, you're also looking at balance. When you see anything that's a two, you see two peaks, two towers, two trees that match one another, two rock faces, anything that's a two where you see something going in between it. That's the idea of balancing the shadow side of self with spirit, or dark versus light, or feminine versus masculine. And I hate to use those terms because people see gender, but that's the thing with Inanna as well, and wholeness, is being able to understand both sides of the equation there. The same with Perthrow. When you're trying to understand, the difference between you controlling your fate versus something else controlling your fate. You've got two sides of the same coin of fate, right? And you're trying to figure out, well, now how do I negotiate all of this? How do I still stay in some measure of control, even if I have to give up some of it? There's that. And so you may be in a situation today where there's just no way out of it. But you have to figure out, how am I going to get through it and still remain intact and not feel like I'm being oppressed or what have you, to still try to maintain that control over how you at least see something. But again, it could be something even more mundane than all of that, as deciding what doctor to go to, or what store to go to, or to, if you know that you don't want to go into a store that's got a bunch of cars in the parking lot, maybe go to a different one. Who's controlling your fate there? Maybe you're like us and you still wear masks in grocery stores because you're concerned about getting COVID, because you know the impact it could have on your life. And so you make a different decision. You're not bound by the pressure to, this store is quicker, I'm going to go there. And you take that risk that's unnecessary, when you could just as easily travel, a few blocks in the other direction and go someplace else that's not quite as crowded, right? And you feel a little more safe in. Even just the timing of something like that. I'm going to go at night instead of during the day, where there's less people. It could be something as mundane as all of that. Or it could have to do with a choice of jobs, in anything you might have to make a choice about today. And are you making that choice in full clarity of what you want and what you need, or are you simply doing what you've always done? I guess would be another way of saying this. But at the end of the day, what you create for yourself is yours. You know, it's not, the choice you make is your creation. It belongs to you, and you have to live with all of it. And so, again, are other people influencing the decision you need to make? Or are you going to take command of your own creation and decide what's going to happen for yourself? And it might be similar to what other people are saying, but at the same time, are you making that choice because you're influenced, or because you really believe that this is what you need to do? And again, moderation with temperance is key. Not getting out ahead of yourself with the will going a little bit too strong there, and the same with the emotions. I feel like I have to. Maybe there's guilt involved. I have to do what my friends want me to do. I have to do what my family wants me to do, because I have this emotional connection to them. You want to balance those things so that you have some kind of moderation that you're making your decision with. And the idea that when you do that, some awakening can happen. If we look at the 8 and the 3 together, we had the master number 11, which is about awakening and enlightenment. And so, maybe you're awakening to the fact today that you don't have to necessarily be influenced by other people, that you can make your own decision. If you have to, shut the door and go in your house and go in your room and shut the door and lock it and don't let anybody in, and put your earplugs on and so that you can't hear them pounding on the door, say, no, I really think you should do this. It's like, no. It's not time for that. You have the awareness that you need to make the decision that's best for you. And no matter what other people might want to tell you should do, at the end of the day, you're responsible for the decisions you make. And you're the one that is going to end up having to deal with the outcome or fate of it all, right? So I think that again, if this is something that's happening for you today, if you're having to make a decision that it's just too many people talking at you, turn them off and go within and make the best decision you can for yourself. And maybe, again, with Cauda Draconis, the past can inform it, but if the past is actually the problem, where it's like, I've always done it this way, so I guess I'll do it this way now, that may not be workable. And maybe you are ultimately giving your fate over to circumstances that doesn't need to happen. So anyhow, I think that's it. We did it. On to the weekend. and more processing vegetables and stuff. And I guess my husband's going to be doing some more dried apple, so he'll have command of the dehydrators this weekend, and I'll just make pasta sauce. I won't dry any more tomatoes, and we'll just call it good. So anyway, thanks for watching, and click subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd love you to do that. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you've come back, thank you so much. Check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address is imsteppingaside.com. Click on more below the video if you forget that, and it's right there. And then plus some stuff about why I do what I do here and what I'm doing. And then down below all that are some links to where I am on social media. So if you want to follow me over there. I generally follow back. I don't respond to DMs ever, unless it's one of my good friends on the social media platform who says, hey, go check your DM, I have a question. Or I need to tell you something. Something like that I know. If I know you, that's one thing, but otherwise I don't want people selling their products to me or whatever. I don't want to hear that. So that's not why I'm there. So anyway, but you can click on more, and that's all below that in that little window that opens up. But enjoy the full moon tomorrow. This is Maiden today. Tomorrow, or rather, today's not Maiden. Tomorrow's Maiden, and Saturday is the full moon. I keep thinking this is Friday. But Saturday's the full moon. That would be the mother phase. Sunday's the crone phase. And just enjoy your day and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And again, make your own decisions, decide your own fate, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.